Redfield Arts Audio.
First, we'll introduce ourselves. At the end down here is Jennifer Rouse. Hooray! Next is someone who knew Mark Redfield back in the day and can talk about his productions.
And you know what's so funny about this? I showed Jennifer what was it, Twitter or something? Somebody wrote online to me, "Are you the Mark Redfield who runs Mark Redfield Studios? Because something about this post is oddly familiar." And I just couldn't even answer that question. It's like,
yes.
I can't help you. And I should have talked to the guy number one because, when he was working with his dad, you start to remember a face from 20 years ago. Look, it's a lightsaber fight.
I propose we just go ahead and play the videos, and if somebody hears something, they'll come in.
Yeah. And you guys don't know anything about this. Do you know Mark's book?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Well, this will be interesting to hear because let's do that.
Yeah, I'm game. I'm into it, and we'll try to.
So the basics is that there's an 8-episode adaptation of the Made Man graphic novel featuring Frankenstein Mobster, and Mark and Jennifer were principal in putting it all together. And here's some of it now. Oh, and if you want it, it's on Audible. So here's a little bit of it now.
Redfield Arts Audio.
Redfield Arts Audio presents
Monster
Mark Wheatley's Frankenstein Mobster. The most amazing story of crime ever told. Starring Daniel Roebuck.
You, Twitch Randall, and Hyde. He did it right here. You murdered me.
Debbie Rochon.
My name is Terri Todd, Detective Terri Todd. My father was a good man, a good cop.
And Mark Redfield.
Quiet, Smiley. We don't sell talismans in the dead end, no matter what they'll pay. You don't want any monsters to reap talisman benefits, now do we, son?
Monstro City, where monsters live and mobsters rule.
Gentlemen, what you see before you, this sleeping giant swathed in bandages that I have named Frankie, what your eyes see are 4 dead men.
What the hell?
A mad scientist created a better mobster. The Frankenstein Mobster. Adapted from the graphic novel written and illustrated by Mark Wheatley.
We got the back window out, Daddy!
Get down, Yasmini. They come still shooting at us.
I can't see. Who is that hanging out the cop car window?
One of him, and better than 20 of us.
It seems I'm neither a monster or mobster.
Stop! He helped Jerry!
See this?
Is that what I think it is? Talisman?
I can get you one. I got sauce.
Well, they're illegal.
It's a good luck charm. An illegal good luck charm. Cos, how the hell did you get tipped off about this?
Are you okay?
I think so.
Can you run?
I think so.
Run!
Original music score and sound design by Jennifer Rouse. Adapted, written, and directed by Mark Redfield.
Monster-rama audio drama.
That's the trailer.
Pretty great. I wish you could do that monster stream.
I can't remember this. There's so much mixing between. We got Indian plays the spoilers. Indian voices the monster at the end, the big 400-foot swamp creature. So I got various growls from things. I did a bunch. She just would mix things up and, faster, funnier, louder, softer. Just, so I really don't know the source of a lot of this stuff anymore. I mean,
And all I know is the new MGM line roar makes my cat sit up and go.
really?
Yeah.
That's a good endorsement.
Before that, I don't think it was a line or anything. I don't know what it was, but they were like.
No reaction.
Yeah, they're like, whatever. And now they're like, what? Boss. Cool.
All right, so here's another little snippet of part of the production.
Nice.
It stunk in the catacombs under the abandoned church. I was beginning to like Osmed. I really wanted to find his daughter. I didn't want him to get hurt if we ran into trouble. We got lucky in finding that truck. As I climbed down the wet, cold staircase deeper under the church, my gut instinct kicked in, and then I heard her. I followed the crying. I was getting filthy, navigating the debris and junk in the dark, down and deeper. I went through several passages as I heard Yasmini, what had to be Yasmini crying. That's when I came up on the door. I pushed my ear to the door and strained to listen.
It's that damn kid crying again.
Hell's bells, I've had it with that little mummified brat.
Come on. You gonna raise her full.
What was that?
What?
You guys hear that?
Rats. It's rats. Place is infested with dirty frickin' rats.
That ain't rats. That.
Police, put your hands on your head, now. Slowly stand up and step back from the table. Yasmini? Are you here, Yasmini?
Mommy? Is that you, Mommy?
No, I'm Detective Todd. I'm gonna take you home to your mommy and daddy, honey. You, Pink Eye, where's the girl?
I'm in here.
In there.
That meat packing case? Let her out, now.
You know, there's 4 of us, lady. All packing heat. And just one of you.
Come here, Yasmini, get behind me. Are you okay?
I think so.
Can you run?
I think so.
Run! Run! Just head up the stairs and straight out. Your dad's outside waiting. Keep going, we're almost there.
I can't see.
We got outside. I could turn to get a clean shot. I fired a couple times over my shoulder to slow the goons down.
Do you know who Debbie Rochon is?
Debbie's, and if you guys have any questions, I mean, we're here. We've got an idle 40 minutes to go. Yeah, Debbie's an actor. She's Canadian, out of New York most of her life. She's Canadian, but she's a New Yorker now. She's a Canadian American, whatever. I've been wanting to work with her for a very, very long time. Her distinction, which is quite amazing, is that she's appeared in over 200 independent films.
Oh, cool.
Most of these in the horror genre. She's done just so many things. But she's a marvelous, marvelous actor. We've known each other for a long time. This was the first thing to come up after, Rochon. Hey, I'm doing audio stuff now. You want to come? Oh, that's okay. So yeah, that's Debbie. That's great.
Cool.
Yeah, I think she really nailed the part.
That's fun.
Well, let's go on to the next little tidbit.
Cool.
Hey, suckers! Just a little message from the Brighton mob. Let 'em have it, boys. Say nighty-night, suckers!
Let them have it, boys. There's no way out down here.
Run, Dr. Salva. Save yourself.
Fritz, help me get Frankie to safety.
Yes, but save yourself. Save yourself first.
Fritz!
I'm killed, Dr. Salva. Save yourself.
Gangster against gangster as bullets fly in Dr. Solver's laboratory, leaving the dead body of Fritz. Solver helps guide her hulking creation to safety.
Frankie, pick up the Tommy gun. You know what to do, my creation?
soulless creature picks up the machine gun. He looks at it. His eyes light up. Muscle memory flickers through his body. Then...
Shoot back!
Yes!
Yes, he's just been born.
Fresh, brand new murders.
Just been born. Gotta clip that umbilical. Tie it off in the end. Put a little bandage around it. Get carried away with the bandage. Jennifer plays Dr. Soul.
Oh, cool.
Mark, I'm interested from you. I mean, as someone who, Mark Wheatley, you know, I think about Daniel when he makes things, and I know that part of his process is very cinematic, and he hears them, and he kind of thinks about what these characters sound like, and so I'm curious what the process was for you in terms of having created this story, and then having it kind of come to fruition in a different medium. Were you part of that process? Was there a disconnect between maybe a voice you heard in your head that then didn't, you know, it changed when it moved into the audio space?
I think I gave Mark enough room to hang himself. I think they did a great job. You know, if I was doing it myself, I'd probably have done some things differently, but the bottom line is it's wonderful. It's really great. So, yeah, I mean, I've always loved collaborating with people, and I like to see how things are, I mean, they bring different things to the party, you know, so it's in many ways, it's richer. It's different, but it's richer. So, you know, I like it. I find it exciting. I also was an actor in the production, and it might be this next.
I think it's the next one.
Come on, let's go see my pal Archie.
We all do have secrets.
So they're about to go into
it seems.
Janice, my boy, how good to see you. I think your mother...
Ah, Archie, no time for all that.
Been a while. Good to see you. You're here on business.
Yeah, sorry. This isn't a social visit.
Oh, that's okay. What can I do you for?
Archie, this is my partner, Detective Todd. Detective, this is Archie. He owns the place.
Well, scratch my hairy ears. Not the daughter of...
Himself. So we're picking up an old case. One that her father was working on before he disappeared. We want to know if you heard anything about...
Where the missing bodies are going.
You got a name, Arch?
I got two for you, son. Smiley Haskell.
Smiley Haskell?
Yep, he's been hanging around here on and off for a couple of weeks.
And the other name?
He's sitting right over there, with his back to us, nursing one beer and an order of corn dogs. For 2 hours, the cheap son of a bitch.
Thanks, Archie. Come on.
Hey, of all the gin joints, whiskey barrels, and armpits of the world, you walk into mine?
Cars. Terry, meet Ronnie Cars, the best reporter in Monstrose City.
I'm touched. Now I'll have to keep your secrets. Really? The best reporter?
I said in Monstrose City.
Well, okay, he means I investigate, and then I make up what gets in the paper. Same for my new gig on the radio.
Save us. It's bad enough to read you. Now we have to listen to you.
Why would you make things up?
You just fall off the truck, honey? The mobs run the papers, radio and TV. And they frown on seeing their names in public. Don't you know?
Okay, ace reporter. What do you know about the talisman trade here in the Dead End?
Is she kidding? Little to nothing, honey. Little to nothing.
Call me honey one more time, Cars, and I'll guarantee you a face fit for radio reporting.
Ah, let's not stop being friends. We just met.
Cars is Terri Todd's kid. She just made detective.
Terri Todd's kid? Why didn't you say so when you came over? Obviously got all her good looks from her mother.
All right. Now that the introductions are over.
Corn dog?
What?
Here, have a corn dog. Janus?
No, thanks. Lord knows what's in those things.
Okay, the way you're eyeballing it, Detective Todd, tells me you haven't yet tasted the wonder of wonders that is the corn dog. It's food on a stick. It's the future.
You hear anything since the shootout at Davy Jones' Bar and Grill the other night?
Do you know anything about my dad's last case? The missing monsters?
Whoa, slow down. You're like tag team wrestlers. And it was your dad's last case, as in final?
You know something. Now spill it, Cars, or I'll shove this corn dog right up your...
Wow. Hey, let's walk and talk, huh? We need to build a little trust here. Come and walk and talk with me, and we'll talk of many things. Of Davy Jones, and illegal talismans, and grab a corn dog. Food on a stick. Portable, even.
I've been meaning to ask you for over a year about the corn dog thing, because
I just thought it kind of made an interesting character.
I like the idea of like someone who sits down at a bar and has like what like a tray of like 6 corn dogs.
It's either a basket of corn dogs or it's like one of those sushi boats.
This guy is flushed with corn dogs.
I do actually like a good corn dog, but it's pretty hard to find a good corn dog. And I don't look that hard, but years ago I went to a Shriners event, and they were baking corn dogs in the back. And they had a hush puppy batter.
Oh, wow.
And they had these big, like Starbucks cups, and they filled it up with batter, and they stick the dog in it, and they drop it in the vat, pull it back out, and they serve it. Oh man, the thing was wonderful. But usually they're just crap. So.
I don't think I've ever had a corn dog before.
It's pretty good.
What? You've never had the wonders of a corn dog?
They're gluten-free. They look really good. I've just like never had the opportunity.
Well, we can fix that. We're in Baltimore. There's going to be a corn dog somewhere. You didn't ask this, but nobody was in the same room ever in making this.
Oh.
Wheatley's in.
We just don't get along.
We just don't. It just is better to keep people separate.
Personalities manage.
I mean, that scene alone right there, if it wasn't Wheatley or Rochon or Nathaniel Gray, who's Janice Moore, it was me. I'm in Baltimore. He's on the west side out there.
Who did the guy who answered the door?
Me.
That was you?
Yeah.
Cool.
The weird thing is that it sounds perfect, right? Except that every once in a while it starts to sound like my gold.
Oh, that's weird.
I know, every once in a while. No, when he's doing that,
Janice. Yeah.
Because he's, Archie is kind of based on, everybody is based on 2 to 3 people, and Archie, the primary Archie is Ed Wynn.
Yeah, he did a great job with it.
And so Nathaniel's in Los Angeles, and Debbie was in Canada. And, I talked to the actors, and they get it. And there was really very little retaking or anything, and he knew Carson nailed it from the first time. And it was later that I threw corn dogs in because of Henry Frankie and the helicopter pilot.
Yeah.
I just thought it'd be funny to bring that back to Carson.
You had to close the whole corn dog.
Yeah, he talks. It's a new scene to make the visual of the comic book work, because it'd be easier to make this an animated film or a live action movie. But I just threw in that Cars offers a helicopter pilot a case of corn dogs. Nice. Go on. But yeah, nobody was in there. Everybody was all over the country and in Canada.
Yep. It's an international production.
It truly is.
Yeah, true.
So here's one more clip. This bad guy says, who's this?
On the edge of the great swamp, Frankie slows Mayor Hyde's sedan to a crawl and comes to a stop, looking down a hill onto the Morton J. Hyde manufacturing plant. The building glows green from the windows as noxious black smoke pours from the chimney stacks that sprout from the roofs like so many gnarled cement fingers of death.
I thought this place closed years ago and they demolished it.
Well, you thought wrong, boy.
It's awful busy. You got armed guards all over the place, too.
And when they spot my sedan here, they'll come knocking on the window, too.
Huh. Some operation you have here, Mayor Hyde.
Who you working for, boy? Is it Smiley? Brighton Mob? Who? Nothing? Big silent time, huh?
What are they making in that old plant, Mayor?
You mean in my old grandpappy's plant? The original building dates back before the Revolutionary War, son.
What are they making?
I got 2 words for you. Monster Mash.
Monster Mash? What's that?
Well, that didn't last long. Thought I'd give it a try anyways.
Hey, you know what I think? I think we ought to take a look inside. You and me.
Listen, loosen these ropes, will you?
Screw that. Time to pay a visit and do a little spot inspection. What do you say, Hyde?
I got an army down there. You ain't getting in there, with me or without me, dead or alive.
It's time for a closer look.
Are you crazy? What the hell are you doing?
Hang on, Hyde.
We're gonna smash into the wall of the plant. Sonny Jim!
So, as we conclude our program, was there any questions?
I was a Kickstarter supporter for the thing, so I really enjoyed it.
Well, good. I'm glad you can make it.
Well, wait a minute. Really?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I got a copy of the book that Mark sent me a week
Oh, great.
So, yeah, I don't know what level I was, but it was something like that.
You were at top level. Thank you very much. I hope you liked this. Did you listen to it when you got? Did
it was great.
Thank you. Good.
I've never read the comic, though.
Oh.
Sorry?
See, my turn. Our turn to shine.
Yeah, the book is better.
I like the book. I like the book better myself. So
well, the book is longer.
And I know Dick Thyself. So.
That's great. That's my idea, to have credit Count Gore as Varney the Vampire and have.
And Dick Thyself.
Because Dick wanted to just be. He said, you know, I've done that for 40 years. He's got his own life. They hire him at conventions. Can I just be a voice actor in this thing? And it was like, yeah. Give you a great gangster, and then he played Gunnar Tursky. But it's like, there's this character called Varney. Could that be Count Gore Duvall? And he was like, okay. And then I talked him into doing the 2 credits so that Count Gore means something to me.
Now, I don't know if you know or not, but I was on the old Count Gore Duvall TV show.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the fact that all of these elements were recorded separately, were there any moments that were either challenging to get some pacing or that interaction correct, or moments where something really special happened, right? You know, I mean, imagine that amalgam is kind of an interesting process.
Mm-hmm. I think the interactions between Debbie's character and Nathaniel, they matched very well. You know, and they didn't know each other. They were on separate coasts, and it's amazing that it came together, and the rhythm was good with their readings, and it worked out great. So.
And is that done in isolation? I mean, or does one person read and then the other person sort of
just separate, totally separate. Yeah.
We did a piece called Sinbad and the Pirate Princess, and we had the actors all in a room. We had them at mics, like an old radio show would have done in a studio. And we found that in post-production, when Jennifer was cutting things together, maybe there would be a better take. But because what I like is a little overlapping. So I would And I don't think you were there for the recordings.
I wasn't, but the problem with doing it that way is that if one actor, if their performance isn't good on a certain line, but the other one is great, then you can't edit it. You just have to use what you have. You know what I mean? So it's so much easier to just do everybody separate and then bring them together.
And this was decided pre-pandemic, you know, when people weren't getting out and even nervous to get into the studio at times because they didn't really know at the beginning of things.
Dan have to get like checked beforehand. And
Invisible Studios in LA where a couple of actors were recorded were very, very strict, which made people feel better. But anyway, it really helps because, you know, these actors are all really smart. So they'll look at the script, we'll talk, you know, and I was in the session on Zoom with Dan Roebuck and with Nathaniel Gray because they had so much to carry and they really needed to be reminded where they were, whether they were just born and then all of his faculties are kind of back. As you know from the book, Frankie is wrestling with trying to be his own man and have the three gangsters in his head and how to shut them up. And you know, there was even a choice made there because now it's a radio play and not a movie. Because, check me if I'm wrong, I've spent so long working on the audio play.
No, you're right, it's a radio play.
Not a movie.
but in the book, don't the gangsters speak through his mouth?
Yes, they do. Yeah, he does multiple voices, essentially.
And as a TV series, as a film, this is great for an actor. This is just whether they're somebody else's voice or the actor can do the voices. But it just, in the audio, we wrestled, and I had to make a decision, let's call it pre-production, and it turned out to work. And then the gimmick there was that as he's fighting with that, the voices in his head, they're treated a little bit. Jennifer, you know, made them sound like they were in a room like this, his brain, his skull. And
a big empty room.
And then it's hard to hear. I don't think we had an example in the clips here, but the other thing that I think sells it when you listen, whether it's on Audible and it's very compressed or you're listening on headphones and it's 3 stereo and everything is. But we just decided to take the dialogue prior and after and run that.
Yeah, and muffled it.
And it's like, it just made complete sense that we're in his head, then we're out of his head, and another person can say to him, "What did you say?" As if maybe they heard something. So it was just, I really tried to play in his sandbox with the story. Really didn't change anything. Some adjustments at the beginning, some adjustments at the end because it's so very visual. Invented only a couple of characters to give a couple people to talk to, so it wasn't all monologuing. Let the narrator handle that, and I think I only invented 1 or 2 characters. The Fritz character isn't in your Salva's assistant. It was just to give Dr. Salva somebody to talk to in the lab, a little hunchback.
Well, in the comic, she's kind of talking to her mother, who's not there.
Right.
Right.
But it's so hard to establish, again, because it was taking the dialogue. I wanted to keep the song. I wanted to keep so much of that. But it's just convenience to have a foil to talk to. And then literally I'm killed, get you and your creature out of here. So that's it. It's everywhere and on an MP3 disguised as a cassette.
It may look like a cassette, but if you try to put it into a cassette player, you're going to be very disappointed.
But it sounds much better then. So I'll just share some things because I am curious. You said you liked it, and I'm so glad to meet you. Because
don't act too amazed.
No, it's look, you do a live panel discussion when the thunderous applause, you've reached your audience. But when you do a film or a book or an audio thing, it goes out in the world, you don't know how the audience is reacting. So it's great. Just a couple of little fun tidbits that Daniel Roebuck, the day I called him to be Frankie, was the day, and I didn't know this because it was like 2 hours later, it was the day it was announced that he was playing Grandpa Munster in the Munsters. And it was sort of like, ooh, I hope it's funny. I hope this, and Dan's got a nice following, and he's been doing the circuit promoting the Munsters and helping promote this, so it's been kind of cool.
Yeah, he's actually up at Chiller Theater right now.
Yeah, he's
and so is Debbie Rochon.
And Debbie's there too, so I hope they get a chance to meet, to let them know that they're each there. They've not met. Like we said, everybody's been recorded individually. Other little factoids that, this is going to sound a little braggy, but you know, when we agreed to do this, and I have no idea why Mark Wheatley said, yes, let's do this, but I'm so glad. I think I was asking you about Dr. Cthulhu. I think Dr.
Cthulhu
Little.
And you were so invested in that.
But I'm so fickle. I just threw him aside because of Frankie.
Yeah.
Maybe we were talking about that, and it became this. And
we've been talking about this often.
For a while.
Yeah.
And I do remember that the first thing he sent me was a screenplay that he adapted from his graphic novel.
Actually, no, it was the other way around. I wrote the screenplay first and then turned it into a graphic novel.
But he sent me the screenplay first, and I'm thinking, oh, this will be a nice 74 minutes. I can condense this 120 pages into wham, bam, Frankie Monster. And no, it was like, a casual, I'll never forget this. This is on the phone. It was very quiet. It was like, well, aren't we doing all 8 books? Oh, sure, yes. And then we just started rocking and rolling from there and had a good time. And put the actors together as we went. And I don't mean to, but at a certain point, because we sort of just moved forward. I wanted to work with Debbie. Dan Roebuck and I had done a movie together, so it was kind of easy to land on him and he'll just say yes. No, I'm kidding. But I ended up voicing 47 characters in the thing.
But who's counting?
And we counted several times.
How many actors did you end up having?
There are 15. I mean, and then there's
maybe, I feel like
just
there's
like
more.
20. There's like 20 because there's Chris, Indiana, Eric is Gunnar Tursky, but he's also a voice. There's a couple of people who double, but there's not a lot of doubling. You try to find a voice that's very singular and then find another voice to go with it so they don't mush, you don't get lost. And so this was not a cast of people who do multiple voices. And Yasmini, is Mindy coming this weekend? Is she going to visit? Mindy Newell?
I haven't seen, I don't know.
Because this is just several Baltimore Comic Cons ago.
Yeah.
I meant
it was before COVID when we were all.
It was before COVID. Yeah. We were maskless. Sorry. And Mindy was there, and we're all in the Insight Studios booth, and her niece comes along. And there's a little kid, it's W.C. Fields, go away, kid, you bug me. A couple of years go by, I get a call from Mindy, and she's like, my niece is into acting. And I'm thinking, oh, here we go. And I avoided the call for like 3 days. And then I picked it up and I said, okay. So I call Isabel Newell, her Mindy's niece, and she answers the phone. She sounds like she's in college. My first thought is, ask her questions, keep her talking. And I'm listening to this voice, and I'm thinking, this kid could have a career for the rest of her life the way a June Foray did. June Foray voiced Rocky the Squirrel, Granny, and she was just everywhere for 40, 45, 50 years, voicing all kinds of characters. And I said, I've got this kid. I've got this Yasmini, this mummy child, 12-year-old, and so that happened. And so it was really great, some people that I knew and some new people that came along, and at a certain point we would be reviewing, she would cut something together, I would listen to it. We did scratch tracks. Mm-hmm. Literally,
I read all the dialogue and then added in people as I got their
so sort
files.
of like a storyboard if it were a film, or rough sketches to a thing, and it changed dialogue a little bit, but like you had asked, or like we had said before, when you were recording the actors individually, we literally could salt and pepper something by taking a word. Like if I felt when it wasn't clear that Terri comes into the door, in one scene. I remember grabbing Nathaniel saying, Terry, from a completely other scene, just a surprise, and squeeze that in and it just flows. It all works.
But it's interesting because doing video editing, I find that sometimes it's really tricky, right? Because you think, oh, I have that moment where they say the name, but then when you put it in, the inflection is just like a little off, or it doesn't quite rise enough, or you know.
Right. But
they have software for that now.
Well, okay.
And the weird thing about audio is that oddly there's a lot more leeway, I think, because of what the ear is expecting. You don't maybe know the story. And
with video, you have to cut together the visual as well as the sound.
It's where is their eye, where is
Well, there's also background noise in video, whereas for the audio, you're doing everybody isolated.
I mean, we're putting the background noise in, whether it's the sewer or this room. Every room has room tone in it in this show, and but exactly that, because the audience is not quite expecting, and as long as it's clean, I think it all works. I think it just is really kind of a weird, miraculous alchemy of how we hear people. So I could talk about this all day.
A weird thing about this is that since you have all the audio tracks separately, unlike with Star Wars where you had to squeeze new people into the video, you could actually add other books into the story.
Well, you could.
You could, but he won't let me touch another one of his books. We're done.
And realistically, given that the people didn't have to record at the same time or know each other, the last person recorded when relative to when the first person recorded? What was the time distance?
I think I started, I think I ended.
Helicopter pilot was last.
Henry. Frankie.
Yeah, but what's the time span?
Oh, let's just round this project up to a year. But that includes a period of, before really getting started with the scripts, trying to make them true. And Mark was very supportive and he gave up on me. He basically didn't want to look at scripts anymore. He would listen to certain episodes, and then he kind of said, I don't have time to listen anymore. Just finish the damn thing.
Well, there it is.
He did say that. But so basically from let's do this to it's done, about a year. But it wasn't consistent in a lot of ways. There was a Kickstarter, as you know. There was a Kickstarter thing. There was, well, if we got somebody who's a little bit better known, who should that be? And I reached out to one or two people that I know or knew through an agent or somebody. And each one of those would have made a very different Frankie, for instance.
It would have given the whole thing a different tone.
You know, I mean, one guy that I reached out to would have been very New York, would have been very tough guy kind of guy. And there is a quality about Roebuck that I absolutely love, because there's a little kind of, and maybe it's because, you know, Frankie grows up in the course of this story and becomes himself, and father and daughter, oops, spoiler alert, come together. But there's kind of a dopiness about it that is nice.
Yeah.
It's, you know.
Yeah, but he's able to give it a certain sense of force and authority as well.
Yeah. The colors are all there. I like Debbie. Nathaniel he sounds like a detective from the 1940s. In my mind, maybe we talked about this, but it's 1960s, you know, where this is taking place. It had
in the 50s, but yeah.
And that, I don't have that many sound effects or old telephones and things, but it kept it, you know, kind of narrow. The phones were accurate. The cars were accurate. We really tried to get, because there's so many cars. There's a car chase in this.
Police station was pretty.
There's a car chase and a radio play.
And hiring the monsters was really, you know, getting them authentic. Was just, Anyway, we should probably wrap this up.
We should.
Yeah, so anybody have any last questions they're dying to ask should do it now.
Well, thank you.
Thanks for coming.